offensive line, I mean, the two guys that you brought in for the offensive line, is that even more of a concern than maybe quarterbacking because there's so much cohesion that goes on there?
Yeah, you know how important those positions are. Those guys have to all be on the same page. And so Cam Dillard and Leo Rogers, I mean, those guys have jumped in, from my understanding, and they've really spent a lot of time off the field together with our guys, and I think that's important.
But those two have been on campus a little longer than Brandon, haven't
they? Have, yes.
I'm not asking you to handicap the quarterback race, but could you maybe take me through each guy and what you see currently as their strengths and maybe weaknesses?
Yeah, Nathan Elliott. Let's go. Nathan, a lefty that throws the ball well, has made good decisions in practice. Is the only guy there that has any experience in our football team right now in our offense. So that he's not going to be the fastest guy out there that can run the football. You know, you go with Logan Bird. Logan's about 6'3", 225 pounds. Logan can run. He has a really strong arm. Again, he is in that learning stage of learning the offense and being a guy that can have great presence behind the center. You know, Chaz Surratt. Chaz Surratt's a tremendous athlete, extremely fast, can run, can throw it. He's a lefty. Has led his team to state championships, both on the football field and in basketball. And so a really good athlete that has a chance, I think, to do really good. And then you got Brandon Harris, who's a guy that I can tell you, coming out of high school, we thought really fit what he did. He can run, he can throw it, he's got a strong arm. It's going to be how quickly, and he's playing a big game. So the guy's, he's not going to get rattled. He's thrown touchdowns, he's thrown interceptions. So he understands that part of it. So it's going to be, again, how quickly he can, learn everything and integrate into our football team.
What do you feel about the
depth at running back? Well, I mean, we've only got one guy that returned that had a carry, and so the rest of them are all going to be young. I mean, Stanton Truitt, who's a guy that's gotten experience coming out of Auburn, and then we brought in the two freshmen who both good players, but they hadn't carried a ball at this level. And it's usually not about the ball carrying ability, it's about protection. And how quickly they can learn the protections is going to determine how quickly they get on the field.
And you guys see running back like moving situation?
It's too early to tell you that. I don't know. I mean, if one of those guys establishes himself as the starter and becomes far superior than the other guys, he'll be on the field.
But tell me, you guys lost from last year. How hungry is the team to kind of prove that they can still be where they were last year?
I think the more you guys talk about the guys that left, the better it is for us, because that just makes those guys, it's motivation for them to prove who they are and that they're a good football player.
In terms of what the ACC did last year, National Championship Heisman, how neat is it to play in a conference that's getting so much credibility going into the season?
Well, I think, coming into this league 5 years ago, it's something that we talked about in all of our meetings about what we needed to do to gain the national respect. Now we've reached that spot where we, you could say we were the premier football playing league in the country last year. And so, we've gotten to the top now. It's how long can we sustain that? How long can we stay at the top? And that's a difficult task. And so it would be interesting. But I'm very proud to play in this league.
Larry, how big of a transition is it from Coach Chiswick to Coach Papuchis? Or is there, a continuity since he was already on staff?
Yeah, so when we hired Gene hadn't been a defensive coordinator for about 10 years. So there were some things in the game that he needed to adjust to. So he leaned on JP. JP was the defense coordinator in Nebraska, so he leaned on him. So they put together the defense together. And so when Gene left, it was natural for JP to move into that spot. I think the transition has been very smooth. Then we hired 3 coaches, 2 of them were with JP at Nebraska, so they already understand it. Deke Adams was with me before, so I think it's been good.
How important is having that defense be very good right away, considering the turnover on offense?
I think with as many young guys that are going to be playing offensively, I think the defense is going to need to play well so that those guys can grow up.
How many young guys will change what you're going to do trying to get guys ready?
Well, we always in camp. To answer your question, no, we won't change many things because we try to get as many guys reps during camp because we know at some point they're going to have to help us throughout the season. Nobody makes it with their starting 11 all the way through. So we always develop those next level guys in everything we do, offense, defense, and special teams. So we'll still get those guys a bunch of reps and hopefully we can someone will establish themselves early enough where they can start getting more reps at the quarterback position.
You brought in several graduate.
The new coaches and the new coordinator, and there's got to be some differences in defense. What are some things you expect?
We'll be able to. We were able to expand the defense. We're able to do more. We were more basic with what we did the last 2 years. For them learning, now those guys understand the base. So now it's JP being able to expand it to do more, so that we have more tackles for loss, more sacks, all of those things. So he added things to the package that our defense was able to handle.
Personality-wise, between Brutus and Chiswick, any differences there in terms?
Gene was a very calm, collected. The way he talked, the way he did things with the team. JP's a little more excitable, a little more. They're two different people, different personalities. So I'm sure you're going to see some type of differences just based off personalities alone.
You brought in several graduate transfers. What's kind of your philosophy in terms of having that now as the grad transfers as part of your kind of recruiting puzzle to add to the other?
Well, it's the first time I've ever done it. So, I mean, for me, it's still, the jury's still out on how this is going to work, because I believe chemistry is so important to your football team, and how quickly can you get these guys integrated into your team. So, if it's something that we have success with, then it's something that I think that we'll continue to do. There's not like a list of guys out there that, hey, I'm going to be a graduate transfer. Are you interested in me? It's usually those guys reaching out to you.
Is it something that you did as a result of guys leaving early, or is it just a natural, this is out there, let's take advantage of it?
I think you're seeing it's happening across the country. More and more guys are doing it for whatever reason, and so they're looking around themselves to find out where's the best fit for them. And obviously the success we've had the last few years, and the development we've had with our players and the success they've had going on to the next level, I think, has played a big part in it.
Hey, Larry, talk about spending time with Michael all season. What was it like?
Yeah, that was phenomenal. I mean, to actually really spend time with a guy that's the greatest of all time. I mean, I can't say enough about the relationship that we have with the Jordan brand. How excited I am to be a part of Jumpman. I mean, it's perfection. It's the origin of flight. It's all those things. I mean, that I'm excited about, and I think our players, and it's already helped us in recruiting. The recruits are excited about it. Who doesn't want to wear a pair of J's? I mean, so it's been great to this point, and I look forward to it in the future.
And obviously, you're busy doing football, but does it make you want to come down here and watch more NBA games because of that connection with that?
Anytime I can be around him, I mean, I want to do it. I mean, we were fortunate enough to spend about 4 days this summer together, my wife and him and his wife, and quite a few of the athletes that represent his brand. I mean, so that was a great time, a really eye-opening experience.
With so many coastal teams looking for new quarterbacks, I mean, is it do you look around your locker room and go, well, why not us this year?
Well, how many? All right, let's think about last year at this time. You got a new quarterback, Mr. Trubisky. What's he going to do? I mean, and he ends up blowing it up and becoming the second pick of the draft. Who knows who that next guy is going to be this year? But it can happen. I mean, why can't it? I mean, and so why can't it be us? I know probably out there a lot of people don't think that we're going to do much this year, and I think that's a good thing. So, pick us low. I mean, I would much rather prefer that. I think that'll be a good thing for our program.
In a perfect world, when would you want to name a quarterback, and how do you feel about
perfect world?
Having 4 quarterbacks?
Last spring. I mean, in a perfect world.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the sooner the better. But to do that, somebody's got to establish themselves as a starter. If it goes till the day before the Cal game, then it will. I mean, but somebody's got to distinguish themselves as the guy that needs to be our starter.
Do you feel like you use those 4 guys, or do you try to narrow it down to 2 if you're still kind of unsettled over who you want to pick? It's hard to say.
That's hard to say at this point. Hopefully I get a better feel as we get into camp. I mean, and somebody's got to separate themselves. And if it's 2 guys that separate themselves, we'll work with those 2. We'll see.
How much?
Separation now, or is there a medium degree of separation?
Well, I would say that the 3 guys that were with, I got no idea with Brandon. I mean, so he's, I can't even put him into the equation right now in the competition. So, the 3 guys that went through spring, somebody has got to take the first snaps. when we go out for the first day of practice. You know, Coach Heck will determine who that's going to be, and that means that guy coming out of spring ball would have been, if we had to play that day, that's who the guy would be. You know, but I don't know that we're ready. I know we're not ready to name a starter, and I'm not going to.
You mentioned how Jumpman kind of has helped recruiting a little bit. What's the biggest difference between recruiting now than when you got here your first year?
Well,
Other than all the incident stuff.
I was going to say, we don't have this black cloud hanging over the top of us now. I mean, I think, but that plays into it, though. I mean, there's no way I could take that out of the equation because it was so negative at that point when we got here and so hard to recruit and really more in the state than anywhere. And I think that's where you see it. I think, you know, in-state recruiting has gotten much better for us. We're able to get in on, you know, all of the top kids. Whether we get them all or not, that's a different story. But we're at least in on them. And you know, if we're doing that, then we got a chance.
When you were looking at bringing in Harris at quarterback, how did you kind of evaluate? Okay, on the one hand, wow, he was at LSU. That's a pretty good thing to have. Versus, well, he's not still the LSU starting quarterback anymore. So do we, you know, is there something you know he's not going to work out for us? How did you kind of?
Well, we knew we wanted to bring in somebody with experience. That was the deal because we don't have any experience right now. So I didn't want you know, to not have a guy there that has no experience, whether he's just in the room or he's on the practice field or he's actually playing. I mean, we need to have that some experience in that room. You know, the way it was planned out was Mitch would be back. Those guys would gain experience as we go. The transition would be smooth. It didn't work out that way, so you got to adjust. And so that was the adjustment we made. Let's bring in a graduate transfer, enter him into the mix, and let's see how it falls out.
Tight end is a position on offense where you have some experience and some depth. Have you used multiple tight ends much before in the past? I know at times you did.
I have, depending on if we've had to. Now this year we've got to, you know, and Carl Tucker and Brandon Fritz that have got a lot of experience and have played well for us in games. So I'm hoping to utilize both those guys throughout this year.
Is Brandon the kind of guy that gives you a lot of flexibility there too with the different things he can do?
Yeah, I don't think it matters who the quarterback is, whether or not he plays.
Brandon Fritz.
Brandon Fritz.
It give you flexibility because of the kind of athlete
because he can do so many things. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. All of our tight ends, we've moved them outside, inside. We've attached them. We've unattached them, put them in the backfield. We moved them around. So we recruit guys like that. So I don't think that we'll have a problem with either guy being able to do those things.
How does the wideout crop look to you?
When's the last time you personally kind of faced this kind of thing?
Never, not to this extent. You know, I mean, they said it was 90-something% of the offense production we left. I don't know how many guys have ever done that. So, you know, at least nobody that I've reached out to. So it's, you know, we'll see. We got a plan and we'll work it and we'll do a good job. We'll find out what kind of coaches we are.
How well has Austin's role moved into that leadership role on a really young receiving corps?
Yeah, he's done a really nice job, and he's got a lot of respect on the team from those guys. And so, you know, he has done a nice job throughout the entire off-season and summer of getting those guys getting them prepared, getting them out there, making sure they're doing what they need to do. So, you know, and then you had, I mean, most of these guys, except the true freshmen, had some pretty good players ahead of them. So they learned from those guys. You know, whether it be the young quarterbacks that learned how Mitch Trubisky did things, or those young receivers learned how Bug, Switz, you know, Mack, how they did things. So those guys will still have, you know, some presence in our football team because of the legacy that they left. And that's what you want.
How does the running back drop look to you?
Yeah, so I'm going to expect him to know the offense when we get to the first day of practice. You know, if he does that, then I know that he's serious about it and he wants to be the starter. And now he can compete for the job. Because if he doesn't know it, if he's trying to learn what to do, he got no chance because those other three guys know what to do. So, I mean, he won't get enough reps to establish himself as the guy. So he's got to know it before we start. Yeah, all of those things.
Did you recruit him back when he was in high school?
We did, yeah.
What did you like about him back then?
That he could run and he could throw, both. And, you know, I mean, we're always looking for dual threat quarterbacks, and he was one of the top ones in the country.
What's one position group you feel best about, and what's one that you have the most concerns about? Either side of the ball. Okay,
I feel pretty good about our tight ends, and I'm really concerned about our offensive line, our quarterbacks, our running backs, and our wide receivers. I feel pretty good about our our linebackers and our defensive line, and at some spots in the secondary. But I feel more comfortable with where we are defensively. Yeah.
How does the running back crop look to you at this point?
We just had the two, with Stanton adding into the spring, we had Jordan Brown and Michael Carter. And all three of them did a nice job in the spring, So again, but nobody established themselves as the guy. So, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do in fall camp.
On offense, you've always tried to go as fast as you can between plays.
Not always. We're multi-tempo.
With the inexperience, will you be adjusting that somewhat as they learn?
I'm not going to change the philosophy of our offense. We're going to expect those guys. We do what we do. We're going to expect those guys to adjust and be able to respond quickly. They've got to be able to do that to play in this offense. Whether you're seeing signals and being able to process that on very quickly so that they can make plays. We're going to expect that from them. It's what we do.
There's a perception that an offensive system is so good that it's been proven now that you can put in this quarterback or that quarterback and the offense keeps clicking. Does that give you guys internal confidence with another quarterback transition this year, I guess?
Yeah, I think if the confidence that I have is that the offense has been proven over many years and many places and many leagues. So I'm not worried about the system and the way we do things. It's about how quickly can we get those guys into the system to not make mistakes, because that's what it boils down to. Whether it's the quarterback or a receiver or a running back or an offensive lineman, if they don't make mistakes, the system is proven it'll take you places. And so if it's staying within the system. When you get outside of the system, that's when you have problems.
Looks like one of the newer areas of competition between programs is quality control people. How many you have? Do you have the number you want?
No.
What is enough? Do you know?
I don't know what is enough, but we don't have what everybody else has. I can tell you that. We've got one on offense and one on defense, and that's it. And most other programs got 4 or 5 guys, or 6 or 7 or 8. Some have 9 or 10. So we don't have what I would like to have, because you can, if you manage them correctly, you can do more things.
So is it a competitive disadvantage
to not have as many?
Position?
Sure it is. Yeah, no doubt about that.
You expect to get more
money.
You expect to run.
Yeah, there you go. You talk to him for me, Harris, and get him to.
You expect the run defense to improve this year, take another step forward?
Yeah, I do. I really do. I think the things that JP has added in the spring to the package will help us tremendously in what we did. And if you look at what we did, we stayed pretty basic. And we were 2 high safeties, which anytime you're 2 high safeties, you're going to be vulnerable in the run. It's the way it is. But it was about, hey, let's don't give up the big plays. And they didn't, and we won 19 games that way. So, but now I think we're going to have to put a little bit more pressure on the defense to help us win more games that way.
Do you think that starts with that linebacking group you talked a little bit earlier?
Yeah, I think it's going to start up front. But the front 7 is the key. The linebackers got to fit. But those guys up front have to control the line of scrimmage. And if they do that, we got a chance.
You mentioned Donnie in the other room, Donnie Miles, about being a leader on defense. Andre, obviously, is a guy that needs to be a leader as well, and you mentioned him too. But last year, he said that one of the things he struggled with most was being vocal on the field consistently.
Yep.
Is he at the point now where you guys want him to be as far as that goes?
I think so. Because we've, I think back to the guy who surprised me the most in the past of getting outside of his comfort zone and becoming a vocal player was Landon Turner. Landon Turner, his personality was not that way at all. He didn't want to raise his voice. He didn't want to, question anybody because he was such a good guy. But he took that role on his senior year. He knew that was important. He understood that he had to do it, and he did a great job with it. Donnie will do a great job with it. Donnie's a heck of a lot more vocal than Landon ever thought about being. So he will relish that role, and he'll do a good job with it.
Coach, what are some of the things you do off the field to help develop those guys into doing those sort of leadership roles?
Well, we spend a lot of time with our guys' leadership. We bring in a group called the program. They're a lot of them are ex-special forces guys, and they put together a pretty extensive program for our guys as far as developing leadership and not only developing leaders, but also establishing good teammates is really important. You got to be a good teammate if you're not a leader. And so that's something that our guys have learned. And so that's one of the things we do a summer competition all summer with different teams. We have a draft. They do all kind of activities that have nothing to do with football. It's just about building chemistry, and the leaders within those teams have to, they learn and develop. And then you got the young guys that are learning from the older guys on what it means to be a leader.
You have a feel yet for whether that pass rush is going to how good that could be this year?
I think Malik Carney has got a chance to be really good off the edge. I think Tamon Fox, DeJuan Drennan's back and is healthy, so we get those guys back. So I think we're going to get some pressure off the edge now, which we haven't had in the last couple of years.
It sounds like you want to use as a motivation the low expectations. Is that
sure? Why not?
How do you go about doing that? You just
Y'all
tell them what you.
No, y'all doing it for me, so I appreciate that. Make my job a little bit easier.
So vote for y'all last.
Say it again. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean September 1 of 2018. That's all I know, and that's all I care about. And I don't care what's happening with the weather. I don't care what's happening with this problem or that problem. September 1, 2018. That was what I was told. That's what I expect. And so I have no reason not to think that's not going to happen. So, I think progress is being made. I think, I haven't been in town for, so I'm looking forward to getting over there tomorrow.
Groundbreaking at all or anything like that?
Oh, yeah, I was there when they started tearing it up. I saw that the stadium was down, all those things. But I hadn't been there since, so I'm looking forward to seeing what kind of progress has been made.
How challenging is that going to be to get everything done? Because I know the day camps that you guys had in June, a lot of the
we're totally displaced as a team this entire year. We're going to practice in Keenan every day.
Is the whole roster going to be in Keenan?
Everybody. We got nowhere else to go.
I know the day camps, some of the kids went across the street, but I guess that's getting torn up too, right?
Yeah, they're building a field hockey stadium there, so we can't use that. So we have Keenan, that's it. We have nowhere else. That's why we put the field turf in around the field, so that we can took the hedges out so we can utilize the space all the way to the walls. Because we're going to practice on that every day. And then on Thursday, when we step off the field, a crew's coming in, they're going to tear up the field and lay down new sod so we have a surface that we can play on Saturday.
Do you have to structure the periods differently now than what it is?
No, I'm not going to change the way we practice. I've been told that they're going to be able to, it takes them 36 hours from the time we step off the field to when they lay down a new field and we can play on it. So that gives us enough time to do that 7 times this season. So, yeah.
Where do you go in Friday?
We'll walk through somewhere.
Are they going to do a trial run?
A trial run?
A trial run with the laying down the field, tearing out, laying it down, just to make sure?
I got no idea. That's way above my pay grade. So
I figured you'd be involved.
They've told me it's going to happen, and